Let's move on to easing, and this is a good segue to easing. We'll go into Comp 2 now, Comp 2 easing, and you see we have this text here, ease out. If I select the ease out layer and hit the U key to see the keyframes that are already on there, I've already created a motion path for this piece of text. And if you keep scrubbing further, you'll see the text ease in flying in onto the screen. Similar to what we just created in the arcs comp. So let's render RAM preview. And I like the nice kind of fluid arcing motion path that they're following, but they come to a very sudden stop. And the word ease out suddenly starts moving at top speed. Right? You should know by now that you can tell the velocity of a layer just by looking at the little dots along the motion path. And we see that all these dots are equally spaced apart, meaning that from the very first frame of motion at 1 second, when the phrase ease out starts to fly out, it starts moving at top speed and continues on out of the frame at that speed. Similarly, when the text ease in flies in, it's moving at a constant velocity and then suddenly comes to a stop. Well, we know that nothing in nature can move that way. If something's going to begin moving from a standstill, that thing has to accelerate up to top speed. If something's going to come to a stop, it has to decelerate to a stop. It can't instantly go from top speed to 0. It has to decelerate to 0. So that's why our animation here looks unnatural. So again, trying to incorporate our observations about nature and the way the physical world works into our animation can help make our animation more believable and professional looking. So by now you should be familiar with Easy Ease. We've used it a couple of times in previous lessons. So for the ease out text, we want these first keyframes. We want it to slowly accelerate out of this frame, right? So we need to select the position and the scale keyframes here. We'll right click on them, go to Keyframe Assistant, Easy Ease Out. And you can see immediately already the spacing between the frame dots has changed. We can see they're closer together near the keyframe, indicating that it's starting out slower and then gradually speeding up. So let's render a RAM preview and see what that looks like. So see how it begins to move, and it looks much more natural and fluid now when the text ease out begins to move. So similarly, let's do the same thing to our layer 2, which is the text ease in, which flies into screen. So in this case, we want to manipulate the second set of keyframes where the layer comes to a stop. It needs to slowly decelerate into this keyframe. So we'll select the second two keyframes, right click on them, go to Keyframe Assistant. In this case we want to choose Easy Ease In. It's going to cause our velocity to slowly decelerate into that keyframe. Let's render this RAM preview again. There we go. So now our animation looks much more fluid and natural, and we've gotten rid of the jarring start and stop that was happening. So this is the principle of ease in. The idea being that everything in nature, if it goes from a stop to moving, has to accelerate into that move, or any moving object that comes to a stop has to decelerate to a stop. In the next lesson on interpolation, I'm going to show you another method that we can use to control the timing of a layer.